Is Clove really a duelist? This is a question, or more of a statement really, that has been going on around that Clove could potentially be classified as a duelist rather than a controller. And the reason being is that this agent was specifically designed to be played aggressively. Being able to smoke after you're killed and having an ability dedicated purely to self-healing and an increase in speed gives Clove players a huge incentive to play more aggressively and seek out fights first. When we incorporate Clove's ultimate into this, your role in a round could very much be to entry into sight, because even if you die, you can simply just come back to life. But even with all this, does it really make Clove a duelist, or are they still mostly a controller? I'm going to start off by going through the definition of a duelist versus a controller and trying to see where Clove fits in this. Duelists are self-sufficient fraggers who their team expects, through abilities and skills, to get high frags and seek out engagements first. As a duelist, your job is to lead your team into sight, take the fight to the enemy, and gain space for your team. Controllers are experts in slicing up dangerous territory to set their team up for success. Their job is to help the team by cutting up vision, allowing your team to gain space and force enemies into choke points. Okay, so we have some major points for each role that help determine whether an agent is a duelist or a controller. As a duelist, there are 3 primary qualities that you need to have. Number 1, speed. This is a common quality that almost all duelists have because entering into sight needs to be explosive. It needs to be quick, which is why duelists like Jet and Raze will always be the meta, due to their abilities always allowing them to explode into sight fast. Neon and Yoru as well, but these agents are more good for certain maps and can be used in every team comp the way Jet and Raze can. Number 2, selfish abilities. This is pretty straightforward. Pretty much every single duelist ability is designed to help that specific duelist take fights. This is why ISO's wall is so narrow. It's not meant for the team to hide behind, only ISO himself. Just as an example.
Making cover. Stopping fire. Stopping fire. Making cover.
Number 3, expectation to entry and play aggressive. They're expected to be aggressive and take fights first. They're expected to entry into sight first. You don't expect your Sage or your Omen to enter into sight first because they have supporting utility that's important for later into the round. But if someone is playing Clove, even if they don't have their ultimate, there really is not a whole lot you can say against why Clove shouldn't enter sight first. Even if they die, they can still smoke for you, and if they recently got a kill and have a speed boost, it allows for an explosive entry into sight as mentioned in Quality 1. And if a Clove does have their ultimate online, you'll realize that even the duelists themselves will tell Clove to entry first, because it simply makes more sense for the agent who can self-revive to go into sight first and not worry about dying. Before I go through how Clove fits into these points, let's quickly go through the qualities of a controller. As a controller, you also need 3 qualities. Number 1, remove vision. You need to be able to provide some sort of cover that disables the enemy team from being able to see for a long period of time, typically in the form of smokes or walls. Number 2, expected to play back and safe. Most controllers have abilities that recharge over time, which can be used in the later stages of a round. We all know how important a single smoke or a wall can be, and if your controller is the first one to die in a round, you will have a lot of trouble securing a site with no smokes up. Because of this, controllers are expected to be more towards the back and play more safe during the round, ensuring that they're always available to support their team when needed. Number 3, supporting utility. The utility that controllers have in their arsenal are rarely selfish. The only one that seems pretty selfish in my opinion is Omen's Teleport. All other controllers have abilities which are primarily designed to support your team in various ways. I'm saying primarily because it can be argued that every single agent does have a utility that can support the team, but we're talking about utility where the sole purpose is not for you as the agent to use it to get a kill. Alright, now that we have defined the key differences between a duelist and a controller, let's see how Clove fits in. Clove's primary utility is smokes. They have roughly the same duration as other controllers such as Omen, and their smokes recharge over time. Obviously, the purpose of the smoke is to remove vision, therefore we give a point to controller. Clove's metal ability, which decays enemies by 90 hit points, gives a point to both a controller and a duelist, and here's why. Metal is clearly an ability which can be seen as a support utility to help your duelist or other agents win their fights. It can also be used in combination with other agents' abilities that do damage to get a quick kill. such as shock darts or grenades. This is why I'm giving a point to controller. But this ability was actually officially explained to be particularly useful when combined with Clove's other abilities like Pick Me Up and their ultimate, to allow Clove on their own to get the kill. It can be seen as similar to Iso's Vulnerable, which does allow him to swing angles and have an advantage in fights. It sounds like this ability can very much serve as a selfish purpose, but at the same time be used to assist your team, so it does deserve a point on both sides. Pick Me Up is honestly self-explanatory. It gives you an immediate temporary health boost, and it gives you speed as well to help you take on even more fights. That's a point for a Duelist. Clove's ultimate straight up resurrects the agent themselves, no question asked, that's a point for the Duelist. And while on the topic of the ultimate, as a Clove player, if you have your ultimate online, you will be expected some of the time to entry into sight first, simply because it makes more sense for the agent who can come back to life to go in first and risk dying. And even if you don't have your ultimate and your team is hard committing into a site, you are incentivized to entry first because even if you don't die, you can still be very useful with placing down your smokes. In addition, if you have your Pick Me Up ability activated, you already have an advantage over the enemy during the entry because you have speed. This allows you to enter site with more pace and catch the enemy off guard, a quality unique to Duelists. Considering how the expectation to be aggressive and having a self-speed enabling ability are both Duelist traits, that's 2 points which go to Duelist. As we can see, the balance is quite heavily tipped in favor of Clove being a Duelist. There is one pity point I can give to controllers, and that's the fact that as a Clove, there can also be the expectation for you to play less aggressive and stay alive. This is because not every site take is successful and not every fight is worth dying for if your team is later forced to rotate somewhere else. Since Clove can only smoke a small area around their dead body, the agent practically becomes useless if your team decides to go somewhere out of range of your smokes. It's a fair point that we can give to controllers, but still not enough to say that Clove is inarguably a controller overall. I think this agent is overall much more of a Duelist, but just because they have smokes, they've been given the controller title. Sure, we can say that they're a controller Duelist hybrid, similar to how ISO is a Duelist initiator hybrid, which I go through in another video which I'll link down below. But I'm gonna stick with the facts and argue that Clove is a Duelist and should be a Duelist. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you all in the next one.